Book of the course of the celestial luminaries, according to their orders, their times, their names and the places where they begin their career, and their different places, all things which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me and who governs them, explained to me in turn. Here is the first law of the luminaries. The sun, the torch of the day, comes out of the gates of heaven, located in the east, and sets on the opposite side, by the gates of heaven which are in the west. I saw 6 gates, by which the sun begins its career, and 6 gates by which it ends it. By these same gates the moon comes out and enters equally, and I saw these princes of the luminaries, with the stars which precede them, the 6 gates of their rising, the 6 gates of their setting. All these gates are one after the other in the same alignment, and on the right and on the left are windows. First, the great luminary, called the sun, advances, whose orbit is like the orbit of the sky, and which is all resplendent with fire and flames. The wind drives away the chariot on which it is mounted. But soon it inclines toward the north to advance toward the east. It turns by passing through this gate, it lights up this part of the sky. This is how it announces itself in its career in the first month. It leaves by the 4th of these gates which is to the east. And at this 4th gate which it passes through in the first month, there are 12 open windows from which torrents of flames escape, when they are opened at the time designated for them. When the sun rises in the sky, it passes through the 4th gate for 30 days, and through the 4th gate on the west side it descends in a straight line. After this time, the days increase, the nights are diminished for 30 days. Then the day is 2 parts longer than the night. For the day has 10 parts, but the night has only 8. However, the sun passes through this 4th gate and sets through the corresponding gate. Then it approaches the 5th gate, which is in the east, for 30 days, and likewise sets through the corresponding gate. Then the day is increased by 1 part, so that the day has 11 parts. The night decreases and has only 7. Then the sun advances toward the east through the 6th gate, and rises and sets through this gate for 30 days. At this time, the day is twice as long as the night, containing 12 parts. As for the night, it decreases in the same proportion and contains only 6 parts. Finally, the sun declines so that the day decreases while the night increases. For the sun returns toward the east, passing through the 6th gate, through which it goes out and comes in for 30 days. After this period, the day decreases by 1 degree, so that it has only 11 parts, while the night has 7. The sun leaves the west, passing through the 6th gate, and advances toward the east, rises through the 5th gate for 30 days, and also sets in the west by passing through the 5th gate. At this time the day is decreased by 2/12 so that it has 10 parts, while the night has 8. Now the sun passes to the east as well as to the west by the 5th gate. Finally, it rises by the 4th for 31 days, and sets in the west. At this time the day is equal to the night so that both have equally 9 parts. Then the sun leaves this gate, and advancing toward the east, passes through the 3rd gate as well at its rising as at its setting. From this time on, the night increases for 30 days so that the night has 10 parts while the day has only 8. Then the sun goes out by the 3rd gate and goes to set likewise by the 3rd gate in the west for 30 days. Then it spends the 2nd in both the east and the west. At that time, the night has 11 parts and the day only 7. This is the time that the sun passes through the 2nd, either at its rising or at its setting. Then it declines and arrives at the 1st gate, which it passes through for 30 days. It also sets through the 1st gate. Then the night is twice the day. Thus it has 12 gates, while the day has only 6. And when the sun has reached this point it begins its career again, passes through this gate for 30 days and sets in the same gate in the west. During this time the night diminishes by 1 part, it comprises only 11. As for the day, it has only 7 parts. Then the sun passes through the 2nd gate, in the east, returns through the one from which it had fled first for 30 days, rising and setting at the 2 corresponding gates. The night diminishes again, it has only 10 parts, and the day 8. The sun passes through the 2nd gate either at rising or setting, then advances toward the east, rises through the 3rd gate for 30 days, and sets at the corresponding gate in the west. The night continues to decrease, it contains only 9 parts, as many as the day. Then there is equality between the one and the other. The year is at its 364th day. Thus it is the very course of the sun which produces the length or brevity of days and nights. It is this which makes the day increase successively, that the night diminishes in the same ratio. Such is the law of the course of the sun. It advances, it retreats in turn. Such is the destiny of this great luminary destined to illuminate the earth. This luminary to which God from nothingness gave the name of sun. For thus it enters and leaves, without ever having a rest, cleaving day and night in its chariot the ethereal plains. Its light illuminates 7 parts of the moon, but their dimensions are equal. After this first law, I saw the one who looks at the lower luminary, which is called the moon, and whose orbit is like the orbit of the sky. It is also the wind that drives the chariot on which it is mounted. But its light is dispensed to it in measure. Each month its setting and rising vary, and its days are like the days of the sun. And when its light is full, it contains 7 parts of the sun. It rises and takes its course toward the east for 30 days. At that time, it appears and constitutes for you the beginning of the month. For 30 days it passes through the gate through which the sun passes. Then it is almost invisible, so that no light appears in it, except the 7th part of its total light. Each day it increases by a portion, but always rising and setting with the sun. When the sun rises, the moon rises with it, and receives a small portion of light from it. On this night, the first day before the day of the moon sets with the sun. And during this night, the moon is dark, but it rises with the 7th part of its light, departing from the rising of the sun. But little by little it brightens until its light is complete. Then I saw another law, which consists in the determination of the lunar months. Uriel, my holy angel and my guide, left me ignorant of nothing. So I wrote everything down in the way he revealed it to me. I noted the months in the order in which they arrive, the appearance and the phases of the moon for 15 days. I wrote at what time the moon loses its light completely, and at what time it enjoys all its brilliance. In some months the moon advances alone, and for 2 other months it sets with the sun by the 2 doors which are in the middle, that is to say, by the 3rd and the 4th. It goes out for 7 days and completes its course. Then it approaches the gate through which the sun passed, and for 8 days it passes through the 2nd gate, as does the sun. And when the sun goes out through the 4th gate, the moon goes out for 7 days until the sun passes through the 5th gate. For 7 more days it declines toward the 4th gate. It is then in all its brilliance, but it soon diminishes and advances through the 1st gate for 8 days. Then it goes again toward the 4th gate, from where the sun rises. So I saw their position, as well as the rising and setting of the sun, according to the order of its months. And in these days to every 5 years 30 days will be added, because they are in addition in the solar year. And all the days that belong to one of these 5 years will be 364 in number. There will be 6 days in addition for each of them, so as to form an additional month of 30 days. The lunar month is shorter than the solar and sidereal month. Moreover, it is she who regulates the years, in the way that they do not vary by a single day and are invariably composed of 364 days. In 3 years, there are 1,192 days. In 5 years, 1820. In 8 years, 2,912 days. As for lunar years, 3 years comprise 1,062 days. 5 years, shorter than those of the sun of 50 days, embrace only 1,770 days, and 8 lunar years comprise 2,832 days. Also, 8 lunar years are shorter than 8 solar years of 80 days. The year is therefore formed by the course of the sun or the moon. It is therefore, depending on whether one refers to one or the other of these stars, either longer or shorter. Now here are the chiefs and princes who preside over all creation, over all the stars, as well as over the 4 intercalary days added to complete the year. They need these 4 days which are not part of the year. Men are respectively mistaken about these days. For one must refer to these luminaries to realize it, since one is intercalated at the 1st gate, the 2nd at the 3rd, another at the 4th, and the last at the 6th. This is how the number of 364 positions is completed, which form as many days. These are the signs, the seasons, the years, and the days as Uriel made them known to me. Uriel is the angel whom the Lord of glory has appointed over all the stars, which shine in the sky and give light to the earth. These are the dispensers of days and nights, namely, the sun, the moon, the stars of all the celestial host which, with all the other chariots, traverse the sky in all directions. Thus Uriel showed me 12 gates which open for the chariot of the sun, from which infinite rays spring forth. It is by them that summer is formed on the earth when these gates open at the appointed times. From them also escape the winds and the spirits of the dew, when the windows at the ends of the heavens are opened at the times fixed by the divine will. I saw 12 gates in the heavens at the ends of the earth, from which issue the sun and the moon and the stars and all the works of heaven to the east and to the west. Many other windows still open to the right and to the left. One of these windows increases the heat of summer, as well as the gates from which the stars continually come out and return in an endless circle. And I saw in the heavens the chariot of these stars which revolved over the world without ever declining. One of them is brighter than the others. This one goes around the whole world. And toward the borders of the earth, I saw 12 gates for all the winds, which escape from them from time to spread over the earth. 3 of these gates open into the opposite part of the sky, 3 others to the west, 3 to the right and 3 to the left. The first 3 face the east, the last 3 the north. Those placed on the right and left face respectively the south and the west. Through 4 gates come winds of blessing and salvation, and through the other 8 winds of desolation. When they are on their mission, they corrupt the earth and its inhabitants, the water and everything that lives in it. The prince of the winds comes out through the gate placed in the east and through the first gate in the east which inclines toward the south. This wind brings destruction, aridity, stifling heat and corruption. From the second gate, which is in the middle, come equality or the just measure of all things, rain, fertility, healthiness and strength. From the last gate, facing north, come cold and aridity. After these winds come the winds of the nodus, which blow through 3 main gates. Through the first, facing east, escapes the hot wind. But through the middle gate exhales a pleasant odor, dew, rain, salvation and life. From the third gate, toward the west, come dew, rain, mildew and destruction. The north winds blow through 3 gates. From the 7th, placed near the one facing south, come dew, rain, mildew and destruction. From the middle gate come rain, dew, life and salvation. From the 3rd gate, facing west but approaching the north, come clouds, ice, snow, rain, and dew. Then come, in the 4th region, the western winds. From the 1st gate come dew, rain, ice, cold, snow and frost. From the middle gate, rain, dew, calm, and abundance. From the last, toward the south, aridity, destruction, drought, and death. Thus ends the description of the 12 gates placed at the 4 corners of heaven. All their laws, all their influences, good or bad, I have explained them to you, O my son Methuselah. The first wind is called the east wind, because it is the first. The second is called the south wind, because it is at this time that the eternal, the blessed forever, descends. The west wind is also called the wind of diminution because it is from its side that all the celestial luminaries weaken and descend. The 4th wind, the north wind, is subdivided into 3 parts. One is devoted to the habitation of men. The other is occupied by lakes, valleys, forests, rivers, places covered with darkness or snow. The 3rd finally is paradise. I saw 7 mountains higher than all the mountains of the earth, from which come the frost, the days, the seasons, and the years go and vanish there. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, greater than all the other rivers. One flows from the west to the east and empties into the great sea. 2 flow from the north to the sea and empties into the Erythraean Sea, toward the east. As for the other 4, 2 flow from the north toward the Erythraean Sea, the last 2 empties into the great sea, where there is an immense desert. I saw 7 large islands on this sea, 2 close to the land, 5 in the great sea. The names of the sun are Osiris and Tomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second Ebla, the third Benyx, and the 4th Eri. These are the 2 great luminaries, whose orbits are like the orbits of the sky, and whose dimensions are equal. In the orbit of the sun, there are 7 parts of light which are reflected by the moon. These 7 parts strike the moon down to the last. They go out by the western gate, after having illuminated the north, and returned to the sky by the eastern gate. When the moon rises, it appears in the sky, and it is illuminated by half of the seventh part of the moon. This light is completed at the end of 14 days. Soon 3 times 5 parts of light were completed, so that after 15 days, it has reached its perfect growth. The moon then reflects all the light it receives from the sun. It then decreases, and it follows in its waning the same course that it had taken in its growth. In some months, the moon has 29 days. There are other months when it has only 28 days. Uriel revealed to me yet another law. It is the way in which the light emanating from the sun comes to spread itself on the moon. During all the time that the moon progresses in its light, it advances before the sun, until at the end of 14 days its light becomes full in the sky. But when it wanes, or when this light is absorbed little by little in the sky, the first day is called new moon, because it is on this day that it begins to receive the light of the sun again. It is found complete, the day when the sun descends in the west, while the moon rises in the east. Then the moon shines all night until the sun rises before it. Then the moon vanishes before the sun. When the light approaches the moon, it decreases again until it is completely eclipsed. Then its time is over. Then its empty orbit is without any brightness. For 3 months it completes its period in 30 days, and for another 3 months it completes it in 29 days. And for 3 months it has a period of 30 days, and for 3 months a period of 29 days. At night it appears for 20 days as the figure of a man, and in the day it merges with the sky. And now, my son Methuselah, I have made known to you everything, and the description of the sky is finished. I have shown you the course of all the luminous globes which preside over the seasons, the different times of the year, and their various influences, producing the months, weeks, and days. I have also shown you the wanings of the moon which take place at the 6th gate, for it is at this gate that the moon loses its light. This is where the moon begins. This is also where it ends at a certain time, when it has traveled 177 days, that is, 25 weeks and 2 days. Its period is shorter than that of the sun. It has 5 fewer days per half year. When it is at its full, it presents the face of a man. This is how Uriel, the great angel who governs it, made it known to me. In those days, Uriel said to me, "And now, my son, I have shown you everything, O Enoch. I have revealed everything to you. You see the sun, the moon, and the angels who direct the stars of heaven, who preside over their movements, their phases, their conversions. The days of sinners will not be complete. Their seeds will fail in the fields and in the countryside. The work of the earth will be disrupted. Nothing will come for them in its time. The rain will remain in the air, and the sky will be of bronze. At that time the produce of the earth will be late. It will not blossom in its season, and the trees will withhold their fruit. The moon will change its course. It will not appear in its season. The sky will be burning and cloudless, and barrenness will spread over the face of the earth. Meteors will cross the sky, for many stars, turning from their accustomed course, will wander in space. And the angels who govern them will not be there to turn them back to their path, and all the stars will rise up against sinners. The inhabitants of the earth will be confounded in their thoughts. They will pervert all the ways. They will transgress the commandments of the Lord and will think themselves gods. Yet evil will only multiply among them. But the heavenly punishment will not be long in coming. They will all perish. And he said to me, O Enoch, look at this book which has come down from heaven. Read what is in it and seek to understand all that is in it. Then I saw everything that came from heaven, and I understood everything that was written in the book. And when I had read it, I knew all the works of men, all the works of the children of the flesh, from the beginning to the end. And I praised the Lord, the King of glory, the worker of all these wonders. And I praised him because of his long suffering, because of his mercy toward the children of the world. And I cried out, Blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, and against whom no record of wickedness can be found, who has known no iniquity. Then the 3 saints seized me, and, carrying me to the earth, set me down at the door of my house. And they said to me, Explain all these things to your son Methuselah, Announce to all your children that no flesh will be justified before the Lord, for he is the Creator. For a whole year we will leave him with your children, until you recover your former strength and are able to teach your household, to write down all the things you have seen, and to explain them to your children. But in the middle of the next year you will be taken away from your people, and your heart will recover its former strength. For the chosen will reveal to the chosen the secrets of righteousness. The righteous will rejoice with the righteous. They will confess God together. As for sinners, they will perish with sinners, and the wicked with the wicked. Even those who have lived righteously will die because of the wickedness of men, and they will expire because of the deeds of the wicked. In those days they will stop speaking to me, and I return to my brothers, praising and blessing the Lord. Now, my son Methuselah, I have told you all things, written all things, I have revealed all things to you, and I have given you a treatise on everything. Keep, my son, the books written by your father's hand, and hand them on to future generations. I have given wisdom to you, to your children, and to your descendants, so that they may pass it on, this wisdom superior to all their thoughts, to their descendants. And those who understand it will not sleep, but will open their ears to receive it, to make themselves worthy of this wisdom, which will be for them as heavenly food. Blessed are the righteous, blessed are those who walk in righteousness, who know no iniquity, and who are not like sinners whose days are numbered. As for the sun's course in the sky, it goes in and out by the various gates for 30 days, with the heads of the 1,000 kinds of stars, with the 4 that are added to them and that are relative to the 4 additional days. Men are in great error about these days. They do not mention them in their calculations. But these additional days exist, one at the first gate, a second at the third, a third at the fourth, a last at the 6th gate. The year is thus composed of 364 days. Thus the calculation is correct. For these luminaries, these months, these periods, these years and these days, Uriel revealed and explained to me, he who, by God, has power over all these stars, and who regulates their influences. This is the order of the stars, each according to the place in the sky where it rises and sets, according to the seasons, times, periods, days, and months. Here are the names of those who direct them, who watch over their ways, their periods, their influences. 4 of them lead the way. They divide the year into 4 parts. 12 others come after, which form the 12 months of the year, divided into 364 days, with the chiefs of the 1,000 who distinguish the days, ordinary days as well as additional days, who, like the first chiefs, divide the year into 4 parts. The chiefs of the 1,000 are placed in the middle of the others, and each of them is in his place. Now these are the names of those who preside over the 4 parts of the year, namely, Melchel, Helamelech, Meliel, and Neril. As for the names of the others, they are Admiral, Jaisuril, and Jailuiniel. These last 3 march after the chiefs of the class of stars. Each one marches regularly after those who divide the year into 4 parts. In the first part of the year appears Melchel, who is also called Tama and Zahiah. The days subject to his influence are 91 in number. And this is what is seen on earth during these days: sweat, heat, and work. All the trees become fertile, the leaves sprout, the harvest rejoices the plowman. The rose and all the flowers beautify the countryside, and the trees dead in the winter dry up. These are those who command second, Barkel, Zaebel, and Heloyalel, to whom is also added Helamelech, also called sun or very bright. The days under their influence are 91. This is what happens on the earth during this time: heat and drought. The trees yield their fruit, and the fruit is excellent for drying. The flocks go to their pastures, and the sheep give birth. They gather all the good things of the earth. They gather the grain into the barns, and the grapes are carried into the presses. The names of the others are Gidel, Keel, Heel, to which must be added Asphel. And the days of his authority are expired and finished. And now, my son Methuselah, I have told you all the visions that I saw before you. I had 2 more before I was married, and one of them was not like the other. The first appeared to me while I was busy reading, and the second some time before I married your mother. These were 2 important visions, about which I inquired of the Lord. I was resting in the house of my grandfather Malaliel, and I saw the sky bright and radiant, and I prostrated myself, And I saw the earth devoured by a great chasm, and mountains suspended above the mountains. Hills fell upon hills, the tallest trees split in all their height, and they were thrown into the abyss and descended to the bottom. At the sight of this chaos, my voice stammered. I cried out, "It is finished with the earth." Then my grandfather Malaliel raised me up and said to me, "Why do you cry out, my son? Why do you lament?" I told him the vision that I had seen, and he said to me, "What you have seen is grievous, my son, and the vision that you have seen is striking. It clearly refers to the sins of the earth, which the abyss must devour. Yes, a great catastrophe will come. Therefore, O my son, arise and implore the God of glory, for you are faithful, and that he may leave some people on earth, and that men may not all perish. My son, disaster will come from heaven to earth, and it will be a great ruin." Then I arose and besought the Lord. I wrote my prayers for the generations of the world, giving my son Methuselah all the explanations he could desire. And when I had gone out, and had seen the sun rising in the east, the moon going down in the west, all the stars that God created advancing majestically across the sky, then I praised the Lord of all righteousness. I exalted his holy name, because he had caused the sun to arise at the windows of the east. It ascends and rises before the face of heaven, and it runs its brilliant course. And I lifted up my hands to heaven and praised the Holy One and the Most High. And I opened my mouth, and with the tongue that God has given to all the children of men to be an instrument of their thoughts, I praised him, saying, "Blessed are you, Lord, King mighty and sublime, Lord of all the creatures of heaven, King of kings, God of the whole universe, of whose kingdom, dominion, and majesty there will be no end. Your kingdom will endure from age to age. The heavens are your throne forever and ever, and the earth is your footstool from everlasting to everlasting. For you made them, you rule them. Nothing can hide from your infinite power. With you, wisdom is immutable. It watches continually at your throne. You know, you see, you hear all things. Nothing can hide from your mighty gaze, for your eye is everywhere. Behold, the angels who have transgressed your commandments, and your wrath is over human flesh until the great day of judgment. Now, O Lord, my God, the mighty and merciful King, I implore you, I beseech you. Hear my prayers. Let my offspring be continued on earth. Let not all mankind perish. Do not abandon the land desolate, and let it not be destroyed forever. O Lord, destroy from the face of the earth the flesh that has offended you, but preserve the offspring of the righteous to perish forever. O Lord, do not turn your face away from your servant. Then I saw another vision, which I will also explain to you, O my son. And Enoch arose and said to his son Methuselah, "Let me speak to you, O my son. Listen to the word of my mouth, and give ear to the vision and to the dream of your father. Before I married your mother, I saw a vision in my bed. Behold, a bull came up from the earth, and this bull was white. Then came out a heifer, and with her 2 young calves, one of which was black and the other red. The black one struck the red one and pursued it throughout all the earth. From that time on I no longer saw the red calf, but the black one came to an extremely old age, and there was a heifer with him. Then I saw many bulls born to this couple, which resembled them and which followed them. And the first heifer went out from the presence of the first bull, and she looked for the red calf, but she did not find it. And she wailed lamentably, looking for it. And she continued to cry out until the bull came near her. From that moment she stopped wailing and moaning. And then she gave birth to a white bull, and after him many other bulls and other heifers. Again I saw in my dream a white ox, which grew in the same way, and at last became a great white ox. And from him came many other oxen like him. And they began to produce other white oxen, like them, and they succeeded one after another. I lifted up my eyes again, and I saw the sky above my head. And behold, a star fell from heaven, and it stood in the midst of these bulls and seemed to be feeding with them. Afterwards I saw other large black bulls, and behold, they were continually changing pastures and stalls, when their young calves began to mourn with them. And looking again into the sky, I saw many other stars coming down and rushing toward that single star. In the midst of the young calves, The bulls were with them and feeding with them. I looked and admired these things, and behold, the bulls began to enter into fire and to ride on the heifers. These, having conceived, gave birth to elephants, camels, and donkeys. And the bulls were terrified of this monstrous generation, and immediately they began to bite them and to beat them with their horns. And the elephants devoured the bulls, and behold, all the children of the earth trembled at this spectacle and fled in terror. I looked at them again, and I saw them striking one another, devouring one another, and I heard the earth groaning over them. Then I turned my gaze a second time toward heaven, and in a second vision I saw men come out like white men. There was one and 3 others who accompanied him. These 3 men who came out last took me by the hand, and raising me above the earth and its inhabitants, led me to a high place. And from there they showed me a high tower surrounded by lower hills. And they said to me, "Stay here until you see what must happen by these elephants, these camels and these donkeys, these stars and all these heifers." Then I saw the one of these 4 white men who came out first. And he seized the first star that had fallen from heaven. And he bound her hand and foot, and cast her into a valley that was narrow, deep, horrible, and dark. Then one of the 4 drew a sword and gave it to the elephants, the camels, and the donkeys, and they began to strike one another with it, and the whole earth trembled. And in my vision, behold, I saw one of the 4 men who had come down from heaven, who gathered and seized all the great stars, whose sexual parts were like the sexual parts of horses, and he threw them all, bound hand and foot, into the caves of the earth. Then one of the 4 men approached the other bulls, and taught them such mysteries, that they trembled. And a man was born, and he built a great ship. He dwelt in this ship, and with him 3 bulls, and a covering was made over them. I lifted up my eyes again to heaven, and I saw a great vault, and there were 7 cataracts above it, pouring torrents of rain into a village. I looked again, and behold, the fountains of the earth were pouring down upon the earth into that village. And the water began to swirl and rise up over the earth, so that I could no longer see that village, because it was completely covered with water. For there was much water, darkness, and clouds, and behold, the height of the water surpassed the height of all the villages. The water covered them completely and enveloped the earth. And all the bulls that were gathered there were submerged and died in the waters. But the ship floated on the surface of those same waters. Meanwhile, all the bulls, the elephants, the camels, the donkeys, and the herds perished in that immense flood. They disappeared, submerged, and I could no longer see them in the abyss from which they could no longer withdraw. I looked again, and behold, the cataracts ceased to fall from above, and the fountains of the earth ceased to flow, and the abysses were parted. And the waters rushed over it, and land appeared. And the ship stood still on the land, and the darkness was lifted, and light appeared. Then the white ox, which had been made man, went out of the ark, and with it 3 bulls. And one of the 3 bulls was white, and like that ox. Another was red as blood, and the third was black. And the white bull withdrew from the others. And the beasts of the field and the birds began to multiply. And the different kinds of these animals were gathered together: lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, wild boars, foxes, camels, and pigs, the serets, the kites, the vultures, the congas, and the crows. And among them a white ox was born. And they began to bite one another. And the white ox, which was born among them, begot a wild boar and a white ox, and afterward many wild boars. And the white ox, which was also begotten by him, in turn begot a black boar and a white sheep. The boar begot many other boars. And the sheep begot 12 other sheep. When the 12 sheep were grown, they sold one of them to some donkeys. And the donkeys sold the sheep to wolves, and it grew among them. Then the Lord brought the other sheep to dwell with the first and feed with it in the midst of the wolves. And they multiplied, and their pastures were abundant. But the wolves began to terrify them and persecute them, and they destroyed their young ones. And they put them in the depths of a great river. Then the sheep began to mourn over the loss of their young and to turn to their Lord. One of them, however, managed to escape and retreated among the wild wolves. And I saw the sheep groaning, praying and imploring the Lord with all their might, until the Lord descended at their cries from the height of his heavenly abode and deigned to visit them. And he called the sheep, which had escaped the teeth of the wolves, and commanded it to go to those murderous wolves, and to warn them not to offend the sheep again. Then the sheep went to the wolves, strong in the word of the Lord, and another sheep came to meet the first and walked with it. And both having entered the dwelling of the wolves forbade them to persecute the sheep again. Then I saw the wolves oppressing the flock of sheep more and more. And the sheep cried again to the Lord, and the Lord came down among them. And he began to exterminate the wolves, which howled. But the sheep kept silence and cried no more. And behold, I saw that they emigrated from the land of the wolves. The eyes of those wolves were blinded, and they went out and pursued the sheep with all their might. But the Lord of the sheep went with them and led them, and all the sheep followed him. His countenance was terrible. His appearance was brilliant and magnificent. However, the wolves began to pursue the sheep, until they came to the edge of a great sea. Then the sea was divided, and the waters stood on this side like a wall. And the Lord of the sheep, who was leading them, stood between them and the wolves. However, the wolves did not see the sheep, but they pursued them to the middle of the sea, and then the waters closed behind them. But as soon as they saw the Lord, they turned to flee from his presence. But then the waters were gathered together according to natural laws, and they swallowed up the wolves. And I saw all those who had pursued the sheep submerged in the waves. But as for the sheep, they crossed the sea, and went out into this desert which had neither tree, nor water, nor greenery. And they began to open their eyes and to see. And I saw the Lord of those sheep living with them, and providing them with the necessary waters, with the sheep who led the others. And this sheep climbed on the top of a high rock, and the Lord of the sheep sent it to the others. And I saw the Lord of those sheep in the midst of them, and his face was severe and terrible. And as soon as they saw him, the sheep were terrified. And trembling, they sent the sheep who led them, and the one who was with it, and they said to it, "We can neither stand before the Lord, nor look him in the face." Then the sheep that led them went up again to the top of the mountain. And the other sheep began to be blinded and to wander from the way that the sheep had shown them. But the sheep knew nothing about it, and the Lord was angry with them. And when the sheep heard what was happening at the foot of the mountain, it came down in haste and came near to them and found many who were blinded and had wandered from their way. And when the other sheep saw it, they were afraid and trembled before it, and they longed to return to their stall. Then that sheep, leading the other sheep with it, came near to those that had wandered and began to beat them, and they were terrified before it. Then it brought back to the fold those that had wandered. I also saw in a vision that this sheep became a man, and he built a sheepfold for the Lord and placed them there. I also saw a sheep fall down, having gone to meet the one who was the leader of the others. Finally, I saw a great number of other sheep perish, their young growing up in their place, entering a new pasture and coming to the bank of a river. And the sheep who had led them and who had become a man separated from them and died. And all the sheep sought her and cried for her with lamentable cries. And I saw that they ceased to mourn her and crossed over the waters of a river. Their other sheep arose to replace those who had died and who had led them before. Finally, I saw them enter that fortunate place, into a land of blessing and joy. They were satisfied there, and their folds were raised on that blessed land, and their eyes were sometimes opened, sometimes blinded, until one sheep arose among them and led them so that it brought them all back and opened their eyes. But the dogs, the foxes, and the wild boars began to devour them, until another sheep became the ruin of the flock, and the ram that led them. For this ram began to beat the dogs, the foxes, and the wild boars with his horns, and to exterminate them all. But the first sheep, when it opened its eyes, saw the glory of the ram fade and fade. For it began to beat the sheep also, to persecute them, and to forget all its dignity. Then the Lord sent this first sheep to another sheep, to raise it up as the ram and leader of the flock in place of the one who had tarnished its glory. She went and spoke to it and made it a ram, and the dogs continued to vex the sheep. And the first ram persecuted the second. Then it arose and fled from the face of the first ram. And I saw dogs mistreating this first ram. But the second arose and led the young sheep, and it fathered many other sheep, but finally it fell. And he was succeeded by a young ram who became the leader and leader of the flock. and under him the sheep grew and multiplied. And all the dogs, foxes, and wild boars feared him and fled from his presence. For this ram struck down and routed all the wild beasts, so that it was henceforth impossible for them to oppress the sheep or to carry off a single one. And the sheepfold became large and magnificent, and a high tower was built there by means of these sheep. The sheepfold was not very high, but the tower was very high. And the Lord of the sheep placed himself in this tower and wanted a magnificent table to be prepared for him. But soon I saw that the sheep began to wander again, to follow various roads and to abandon their sheepfold. And the Lord called some of them and sent them to the others. But these began to kill the first. One of them, however, managed to escape the punishment with which she was threatened, and fleeing, preached against those who wanted to kill her. And the Lord of the sheep delivered her from their hands, made her come up and sit with me and stay there. He also sent other sheep to those sheep who had transgressed his commandments, to have witnesses against them. I saw again that these sheep, having abandoned the Lord, and the tower built in his honor, wandered blindly in unknown regions. Finally I saw the Lord himself take revenge, for he was making a great slaughter of them. But they cried out to him. Then he abandoned his temple and left them in the power of lions, tigers, wolves, foxes, and all kinds of beasts. And these beasts began to tear them apart. I saw also that the Lord, whom they had abandoned, had delivered them over to fierce and cruel lions, and to every kind of beast. Then I cried with all my might, and I implored the Lord for these sheep which were devoured by every kind of ferocious beast. But he did not answer, and he looked with satisfaction at these sheep which were devoured, which were destroyed. Finally he called 70 shepherds and gave them the charge of watching over the flock. And he said to them, "Let each one of you watch over the sheep, and let him do what I shall command him. I will give to each of you a certain number to lead, and those which I shall tell you to destroy you shall destroy." And he delivered them over to them. Then he called another and said to him, "Understand and observe all that the shepherds do to these sheep, for they will kill many more than I will tell them to. And every transgression and murder that the shepherds commit will be recorded. That is, it will be necessary to indicate those they have killed by my order, and those they have killed by their own authority. Every murder committed by the shepherds will be counted against them. Do not fail to write down how many sheep they have killed by their own authority, how many they have delivered to be punished, so that this account may be a testimony against them, that I may know all that they have done, whether they have carried out my orders, or whether they have neglected to carry them out. But let them not know what I command you. Do not open their eyes or give them no warning, but count carefully all the murders they commit, and give me accurate knowledge of them." And I saw how these shepherds were managing the flock, each at his own time, and they began to kill more sheep than they should have killed. And they abandoned the sheep to the power of the lions, so that many of them were devoured by the lions and by the tigers. And the wild boars rushed upon them, burned down the tower consecrated to the Lord, and destroyed the sheepfold. And I was very sorry for the burning of this tower, and for the ruin of the sheepfold. For afterward it was impossible for me to see it. As for the shepherds and their accomplices, they themselves delivered the sheep to all the wild beasts, to be devoured. Each one was delivered to them in its turn, and in its own time. Now, each one was also written in a book, and all those that perished were carefully noted therein. Yet each shepherd killed many more than he should have. Then I began to weep and to be indignant at the miserable fate of those sheep. And I saw in my vision how the one who wrote, noted down day after day the murders committed by the shepherds, how he went up, presented himself to the Lord of the sheep and gave him the book which contained the exact account of all that the shepherds had done, the note of all those whom they had put to death, and of all the evil that they had committed. And the book was read before the Lord of spirits, who, stretching out his hand, signed it and then laid it down. Then I saw how the shepherds had dominion for 12 hours. And behold, 3 of those sheep returned from captivity, returned and entered the place of the sheepfold, and began to raise up all that had been destroyed there. But the wild boars prevented them, but their efforts were in vain. And the sheep continued to build as before, and they raised up the tower, which was called the high tower. And they again set a table before the tower, but the bread they placed there was impure and polluted. Moreover, all the sheep were blinded. They could not see, nor could the shepherds. The shepherds also handed them over to be destroyed in great numbers. But the Lord of the sheep remained silent, and all the sheep were swept away. Both shepherds and sheep were confounded, and no one defended them from the attacks of wild animals. Then the one who wrote the scroll went up and delivered it to the Lord of the sheep. But at the same time he prayed for them, testifying against the shepherds who had destroyed them. And after laying down the scroll, he departed. And I noticed how 37 shepherds took over the flock until each one disappeared in turn, like the first. Then the sheep were entrusted to other shepherds, who each looked after them for a certain time. Then I saw in my vision all the birds of the air coming together, the eagles, the kites, and the ravens. And the eagles led all the others. And they began to devour the sheep, to gouge out their eyes with their beaks, and to feed on their flesh. And the sheep cried out lamentably, feeling themselves thus devoured. And I cried out too, and I groaned in my sleep against the shepherd in charge of the flock. And I saw the sheep devoured by the dogs, by the eagles and the vultures. Their flesh, their skin, their muscles, everything was consumed. Only the bones remained, which fell to the ground. And the number of the sheep decreased considerably. And I saw 23 shepherds placed at the head of the flock, and whose respective times together form 58 ages. Then the lambs were brought forth by the white ewes, and they began to open their eyes and see, and to call for their mothers. But the sheep did not look at them, nor listen to their cries. But they were deaf, blind, and hardened. And I saw in my vision the ravens coming down upon those lambs, seizing them, and devouring the sheep after tearing them to pieces. I also saw the horns of those lambs growing, but the ravens sought to shake them. Finally, a great horn grew on the head of one of the sheep, and the eyes of all the others were opened. And the first looked at them, and their eyes were opened, and it called to them. The oxen, seeing it, rushed toward it. But the eagles, the kites, the ravens, and the vultures continued to persecute the sheep, flying over them and devouring them. And the sheep were silent, but the oxen lamented and groaned. Then the ravens wrestled with it, trying to break the horn, but their efforts were in vain. And I watched until the shepherds, the eagles, the kites, and the vultures came, pushing the ravens to break the horn of that ox, and fighting with it. But it withstood their attack and asked for help. Then I saw the man who had written down the names of the shepherds come, and who had gone up before the Lord of the sheep. He came to help the ox, and announced to everyone that he had come to help the ox. And behold, the Lord of the sheep came down, inflamed with anger, and all who saw him fled. The others worshipped in his tabernacle, and the eagles, the kites, the ravens, and the vultures gathered together and drove away all the sheep of the field. They all gathered together and sought to break the horn of the ox. Then I saw the man who wrote by the Lord's command take the book of the destruction accomplished by the last 12 shepherds, and he proved that they had destroyed more people than those who had gone before them. I also saw the Lord of the sheep coming to them, holding in his hand the scepter of his anger, and striking the earth, which opened a little, and the beasts and the birds of the air stopped persecuting the sheep, and fell into the gaping chasms of the earth, which closed over them. I also saw a great sword given to the sheep, who in turn pursued the wild beasts, and destroyed them. But all the beasts and all the birds of the air departed from their presence. And I saw a throne lifted up in a fortunate place, and the Lord of spirits sat upon it, and took all the books and opened them. Then the Lord called the first 7 white men and commanded them to bring the first star, which had preceded all the others, whose sexual parts were like the sexual parts of horses, which had finally fallen first, and they all brought it before him. And he said to the man who wrote in his presence, who was one of the 7 white men, "Take these 70 shepherds, to whom I have entrusted the sheep, and who have destroyed many more than I commanded." And behold, I saw them bound and standing before him. And they began to judge the stars, and they were found guilty and brought to the place of judgment, and they were cast into a deep place and filled with flames. Then the 70 shepherds were judged and found guilty. They too were thrown into the fiery abyss. At the same time, I saw in the midst of the earth a pit full of fire. There the blind sheep, who had been found guilty, were led. All of them were thrown into the fiery pit. And this pit was located to the right of that sheepfold. And I saw the sheep burning and their bones consumed by the fire. And I stood, seeing how that ancient sheepfold was destroyed, But first they had taken away its pillars, the ivory and all the riches that were in it, and they had piled them up in a place on the east. I also saw the Lord of the sheep raise up a house larger and higher than the first, and build it in the same place where the first had been. All its pillars were new, the ivory new, and more of it than before. And the Lord of the sheep dwelt inside it. And all the wild animals, all the birds of the air, bowed down before the sheep that remained and worshipped them, made prayers to them, obeying them in everything. Then the 3 men who were clothed in white, who had taken me by the hand, lifted me up again and placed me among the sheep before the judgment began. The sheep were all white, they were long and pure from any spot. And all the sheep that had died or that had been destroyed, all the wild animals, all the birds of the air, were gathered together in that house. And the Lord of the sheep rejoiced to see the sheep return to the fold. And I saw that they laid down the sword that had been given them, and brought it back into the fold, and sealed it before the Lord. The sheep were shut up in the house, which could scarcely contain them all. And their eyes were open, and they looked at the Good One, and there was not one among them who did not see him. I also saw that the house was great and wide, and full of people. And behold, a white calf was born, whose horns were great, and all the wild beasts, all the birds of the air, worshipped him and implored him continually. Then I saw the nature of all of them changed, and they became white calves. And the first of them became the Word, and the Word became a great beast, and on his head he had great black horns. And the Lord of the sheep rejoiced at the sight of all these calves. And I, who had been prostrating myself, was awakened, but I retained the memory of all that I had seen. This is the vision that appeared to me in my sleep. When I awoke, I praised the Lord of all righteousness, and I gave him all the glory. Afterward, I shed many tears, and they flowed without ceasing at the memory of what I had seen. For all these things will be accomplished, and all the deeds of the blessed will be revealed in their season. And I thought at night about the dream I had had, and I wept bitterly, still troubled by the vision I had seen. And now, O my son Methuselah, bring all your brothers to me, and gather before me all your mother's children. For the inner voice moves me, the Spirit from above takes possession of me. I will reveal to you what will happen to you in the days to come. Then Methuselah went and gathered before Enoch all his brothers and all his relatives. Then Enoch, addressing all his children, said, Listen, my children, listen to the words of your father, and give ear to what I am about to say to you. For you must pay attention when I speak to you. My beloved, walk in the paths of righteousness and do not turn aside. Do not be double-minded, and do not make friends with deceitful men, but walk in the paths of righteousness, follow the right road, and let the truth be your companion. For I tell you, there will be persecution on earth, but in the end God will bring about a great righteousness. When iniquity is accomplished, it will be rooted out by its roots. Yet it grows again. But vain efforts, her works will again be destroyed. All oppression, all impiety will again be punished. Therefore, when iniquity, sin, blasphemy, tyranny, every kind of evil, in a word, will have increased on the earth, when disobedience, iniquity, and impunity will have prevailed, then will come from heaven a terrible punishment. The Lord of all holiness will appear in his anger, and he will inflict terrible punishment on the guilty. The Lord of all holiness will appear in his anger, and will come to judge the earth. Then persecution will be rooted out, and iniquity will be exterminated. All the points of the earth will be devoured by fire, along with their inhabitants. All, from whatever quarter they come, will be judged and punished according to their works, and their punishments will be eternal. Then the righteous will awake from their sleep, and the Lord will rise up against the wicked. Then the roots of iniquity will be destroyed, sinners will perish by fire, and blasphemers will be cut off. Those who oppress their brothers, like those who blaspheme, will perish by the sword. And now, my children, let me show you the paths of righteousness and those of iniquity. Then I will tell you what will happen. Listen to me, O my children. Walk in the way of righteousness, avoid the way of iniquity. For all who follow this way will perish forever. This is what was written by Enoch. He wrote this treatise on wisdom for all men called to govern or to judge other men. He wrote it again for all my children who will have to live on the earth in the coming ages, and walk in the paths of uprightness and peace. Let not your spirits be grieved over what is to befall you. For the Most Holy and High has appointed for each one his time. Let the righteous man awake from his sleep and arise and walk in the path of righteousness, in the ways of goodness and grace. Mercy will descend upon the righteous man, and he will be clothed forever with power and holiness. He will live in goodness and righteousness, and his walk will be in eternal light. But as for the sinner, he will walk only in darkness. Finally Enoch began to speak from a book. And he said, about the children of righteousness, about the elect of the world, about the plant of righteousness and purity. About all these things I will speak to you. I will explain them all to you, my children, I who am Enoch. For by the visions which I have seen, I have acquired great knowledge, and it was given me to read the very tablets of heaven. Then Enoch began to speak from a book and said, I was born on the 7th day of the 1st week, while judgment and righteousness waited patiently. But after me, in the 2nd week, great iniquity will arise, and deceit will swarm on the earth. And then there will be a first end, and one man will be saved. But as soon as the 1st week is completed, iniquity will increase, and the Lord will carry out the decree against sinners. Then, in the 3rd week, a man will be chosen to be the stem of a strong and righteous people, and after him the plant of righteousness will grow forever. Then, during the period of the 4th week, the saints and the righteous will see visions. The order in the generations will be established, and a dwelling place will be built for them. In the 5th week, a glorious and powerful house will be raised up for them. Then, during the 6th week, all who are therein will be enveloped in darkness, and their hearts will forget wisdom, and a man will be taken away from among them. During this same period, the mighty and magnificent house will be consumed by fire, and the race of the elect will be scattered throughout the whole earth. Then, during the 7th week, a perverse race will come forth, many of whose works will be works of iniquity. Then the righteous and the elect will be rewarded, and they will be given 7-fold knowledge of all parts of creation. Then will come another week, the week of righteousness, which will possess the sword of judgment and justice, to strike down all oppressors. Then the sinners will be delivered into the hands of the righteous, who, during this week, will earn a dwelling for themselves by their righteousness, and will build a palace for the great king. After this week will come the 9th week, during which the universal judgment will come. The works of the wicked will be wiped out from the face of the earth. The world will be condemned to destruction, and all men will walk in the way of righteousness. Then, in the 7th part of the 10th week, there will be eternal judgment, which will be exercised against the vigilant, and the whole of heaven will sprout in the midst of the angels. The first heaven will be taken up and vanish, the second will appear, and all the heavenly powers will shine with a splendor 7 times greater. Then will come many other weeks, the number of which is incalculable, which will be spent in holiness and righteousness. Then there will be no more sins. Who among the children of men would hear the voice of the Holy One and not be moved by it? Who could count his thoughts? Who could contemplate the work of the creation of heaven, understand its wonders? He might be able to see its soul, but never its spirit. He would not be able to speak wisely about it, nor rise to its height. Let him look to the bounds of the heavens, and he will see that it is impossible for him to reach their immensity. Who among the sons of men can fathom the length and breadth of the earth? To whom have the dimensions of all things been revealed? Is there a single person who can grasp the heavens by his understanding, or fathom its depths, or reach down to its foundations? Who knows the number of the stars, or the resting place of all the lights? And now, my children, I exhort you to love righteousness, to walk in its paths. For the paths of righteousness are worthy of entry, but the paths of iniquity are suddenly interrupted and end in a precipice. The ways of iniquity and death will be revealed to the illustrious, but they will keep far from them, and will never walk in them. I speak to you, O righteous ones. Do not follow the paths of wickedness and persecution. Flee the ways of death, and do not even come near them, for you will perish. Choose righteousness and a holy and pure life. Walk in the way of peace, and you will be worthy of eternal life. Keep my words in mind and never let them fade from your hearts. For I know that sinners violently provoke men to do evil. But they will not prosper anywhere, and their plans will be without result. Woe to those who raise up iniquity and prejudice and uphold deceit, for they will be overthrown and will never find peace. Woe to those who build their house in sin, for the foundations of the house will be overthrown and will fall with iron. Woe to those who have gold and silver, for they will perish. Woe to you who are rich, for you trust in riches. But you are losing these riches, because you have forgotten the Most High in the day of your prosperity. You have committed blasphemy and iniquity. You are destined for the day of slaughter, for the day of darkness, for the day of great judgment. Truly I say to you, he who created you will destroy you. He will not have pity on you, but will rejoice over your destruction. And the righteous among you will be a laughingstock in those days for the sinners and the wicked. Would to God that my eyes were two clouds of waters to weep over my sins and shed torrents of tears, and so calm the anguish of my heart. Who has allowed you to commit this iniquity and impurity? Woe to you, sinners! Behold the judgment. The righteous will not fear the wicked, for God will one day subject them to your power, so that you may take vengeance on them as you please. Woe to you who curse, you will perish because of your sin. Woe to you who do evil to your neighbor, for you will have the reward that your works deserve. Woe to you, false witnesses who increase iniquity, for you will perish. Woe to you, sinners who reject the righteous, who welcome and reject according to your whims those who commit iniquity, for you will be reduced under their yoke. Therefore, be of good hope, O righteous ones, for sinners will perish before you. You will become their master and you will rule them as you wish. In the day of the punishment of sinners, your offspring will be exalted and will rise like the eagles. Your nest will be raised to heights more sublime than that of the kite. You will ascend, you will penetrate the bowels of the earth and the caves of the rocks to escape from sinners. People will think you are lost, and they will groan and weep. But do not be afraid of those who trouble you, for you will be saved, and a brightness will surround you, and the word of peace will be heard from heaven. Woe to you sinners! For your riches will present you as saints, but your conscience will convince you that you are only sinners. And this inner accusation will be your condemnation. Woe to you who eat the best of wheat and drink the best of liquors, and in the pride of your power crush the poor. Woe to you who drink water at all times, for you will soon have your reward. You will be consumed, you will be destroyed, because you have not drunk from the fountains of life. Woe to you who work iniquity, deceit, and blasphemy. You will leave a bad memory of yourselves. Woe to you who are powerful, who trample justice underfoot. For the day of your destruction is coming. Then, while you are suffering the punishments deserved by your crimes, the righteous will taste many and fortunate days. The righteous have confidence, but sinners will be confounded and perish in the day of iniquity. You yourselves will be aware of it. For the Most High will remember your destruction, and the angels will rejoice over it. What will you do then, sinners, and where will you flee on the day of judgment, when you hear the voice of the prayers of the righteous? You are not like them, for a terrible word will be raised against you. You are companions of sinners. In those days, the prayers of the righteous will be raised to God. But the day of your judgment will come, and all your iniquities will be revealed before the great and holy one. Your faces will be covered with shame. Everything that has the same reality of crime will be rejected. Woe to you, sinners! Whether you are in the midst of the sea or on the dry plain, for an evil testimony is brought against you. Woe to you who possess silver and gold, riches which you did not acquire by right ways. You say to yourselves, we are rich, we live in abundance, and we have acquired all that we could desire. Therefore we will do whatever it takes to please us, for we have heaps of silver, our granaries are full, and the families of our settlers are as numerous as the waters of an abundant spring. These false riches will flow away like water, and your treasures will disappear. They will be taken from you, because you acquired them unjustly, and you will be overwhelmed by the divine curse. I also curse you, prudent of the world, you true fools who, with their eyes always fixed on the earth, have sought to cover yourselves with robes more elegant than a young bride and richer than those of virgins. Everywhere you pretend to be majestic, magnificent, luxurious, and wealthy. But your gold, your grandeur, and your riches will vanish like a shadow. For that is not wisdom. So they will perish with their riches, with their false glory, with their vain honors. They will perish with shame and contempt, and their souls will be cast into the fiery furnace. I swear to you, O sinners, neither mountains nor hills were created for the adornment of an effeminate man. Sin does not come from above, but men have discovered the secret of doing evil. But woe to those who commit it. Woman was not created barren, but with her own hands she has been deprived of children. But I swear by the great and the holy, all your evil works will be manifest, and no one will be able to hide from the light. Do not think or say, my crime is hidden, my sin is not known to anyone. For in heaven everything that is done on earth and all the thoughts of men are recorded accurately before the Most High. Every day we know the persecutions you are guilty of. Woe to you, fools, for you will perish in your folly. You will not listen to the wise, you will not obtain the reward of the righteous. Know then that you are destined for the day of justice. Do not expect to live after having been sinners. You will die because you have not benefited from the price of redemption. Yes, you are destined for the day of divine wrath, for the day of mourning and shame of your souls. Woe to you whose hearts are hardened, who commit crime so easily and feed on blood. Who gave you the goods you enjoy? Is it not the Most High who scattered them on the earth for your use? You have forgotten him. Therefore no peace for you. Woe to you who love iniquity. By what title will you receive any reward? Know that you will be delivered into the hands of the righteous, who will crush your heads, who will have no mercy for you. Woe to you who triumph in the persecution of the righteous, for you will have no burial. Woe to you who make the word of the Lord of no effect, for you have no hope of life. Woe to you who write deceitful words, unrighteous words, for your lies and your iniquities are also written, and none will be forgotten. No peace for the sinner. Death, only death for the sinner. Woe to those who walk ungodly, who praise and flatter lies. You are perverse, and your life is an abominable life. Woe to you who distort the words of truth. They sin against the eternal decree, and they condemn the innocent. In those days, O righteous, you will deserve to have your prayers heard. They will ascend and be laid before the angels as an accusing testimony against the crimes of sinners. In those days, the peoples will be in terror, and the generations will rise in terror on the day of the great judgment. In those days, pregnant women will give birth and abandon the fruit of their wombs. Children will fall before the eyes of their mothers, and while they are sucking their milk, they will reject it and will have no pity for the fruits of their loves. I announce to you again, O sinners, punishment awaits you on the day of justice, from which there will be no end. They will worship stones, images of gold, silver, and wood, unclean spirits, demons, and all the idols of the temples. But they will receive no help from them. Their hearts will become stupid through impiety, and their eyes will be blinded by superstition. In dreams and visions they will be ungodly and superstitious. They will be liars and idolaters. Therefore they will all perish. But in those days, blessed will be those who have received the word of wisdom, who have sought and followed the ways of the Most High, who have walked in the paths of righteousness, and not in the ways of ungodliness. Yes, they will be saved. But woe to you who expose the evil of your neighbor. You will fall into the abyss. Woe to you who lay the foundations of sin and deceit, who are harsh and bitter toward your fellow men. You will be consumed. Woe to you who build your palaces with the sweat of others. Every stone that composes them, every piece of mortar that holds them together is sin for you. Therefore I say to you, you will have no peace. Woe to you who despise the hovel and the heritage of your fathers, and who serve idols ungodly. No peace for you. Woe to those who work iniquity, who persecute, who kill their neighbors. For God himself will wither your glory. He will harden your hearts. He will kindle the fire of his anger, and he will destroy you all. Then the righteous and the saints, witnesses of the effects of his vengeance, will remember your crimes and curse you. In that day fathers will be massacred with their children, and brothers with brothers. Blood will flow like the waves of a river. For a man will not stay his arm from striking his son, or his children's children. He will think he is acting with mercy, and will not spare them. The sinner will not fear to slaughter his brother more honored than himself. The slaughter will continue without respite from the rising of the sun until its going down. The horse will have blood up to its breast and its chariot up to its axle. At that time the angels will descend into the secret places, and all those who have aided in the crimes will be gathered in one place. Then the Most High will descend to execute justice on all sinners, and he will appoint the holy angels to guard the righteous and the saints, and they will defend them like the apple of the eye, until all evil and iniquity have been reduced to nothing. Even though the righteous are buried in the deepest sleep, they will have nothing to fear. The wise will glimpse the truth. And the children of the earth will understand all the words contained in this book, convinced from now on that riches cannot save them from a punishment that their crimes would have deserved. Woe to you, sinners, who torment the righteous and cause them to consume with fire. In the day of great tribulation you will receive the reward of your works. Woe to you, perverse of heart, who seek to have complete knowledge of evil. It happens that fear overtakes you. No one will come to your aid. Woe to you, sinners! For the words of your mouth and the works of your hands have been evil, and you will fall into eternal burnings. Know that the angels in heaven will search out all your works and will question the sun, the moon, and the stars about your sins, because you have dared to judge the righteous. Everything will testify against you: the clouds, the snow, the dew, and the rain. For because of you, all these things will hang down and be of no use to you. Offer sacrifices to the rain, so that it may fall at last, and pray to the dew that it may receive gold and silver from you. But you will be powerless. Ice, cold, stormy winds, and all kinds of frost will fall upon you, and you will not be able to endure their violence. Look up to heaven, children of heaven. Consider the works of the Most High, and fear him, and do not commit evil before him. If he were to shut the windows of heaven and withhold the rain and the dew, leaving the earth dry and parched, what would you do? When he heaps his anger upon you and upon your works, you do not know how to implore his clemency. You blaspheme against his justice, and your words are full of pride and arrogance. Therefore no peace for you. See this ship, how it floats at the mercy of the winds, and is continually threatened by a terrible disaster. Therefore the pilot trembles, because he carries with him on the ocean his riches. He trembles lest he be overwhelmed and perish. Now the sea, its tumultuous waves, its deep abysses, are they not the work of the Almighty? Is it not he who set its limits and traced its shores? At his voice the waves recoil in terror, and the fish that live in its bosom are struck dead. And you, sinners, who live on the earth, do you not fear him? Is he not the creator of all that is in it? And who, if not him, has given knowledge and wisdom to all who live on the earth and to those who are on the sea? Now, do not sailors fear the ocean? Only you sinners will have no fear of the Most High? In those days, when you are enveloped by burning flames, where will you flee? Where will you seek refuge? And when his word rises against you, will you not tremble? Will you not be terrified? All the great luminaries will tremble with fear. The earth will shudder with terror and dread. All the angels will fulfill their severe mission, and will seek to efface themselves before the supreme majesty. As for the sons of the earth, they will be struck with amazement. But you sinners, objects of eternal execration, there will be no salvation for you. Do not fear, souls of the righteous, but await in peace and security the day of your death, as a day of justice. Weep not, because your souls shall go down with sorrow and bitterness into the habitation of death, and because in this life your bodies have not received the reward of your good works, which they deserved, but sinners triumphed in the days of your life. For behold, the day of execration and punishment is coming for them. When you die, sinners will say of you, "The righteous die like us. What have they done? What fruit have they received from their works? Behold, they depart from life like us in trouble and in anxiety. How then are they better off than we are? Are we then equal? What will they have? What will they see more than we? Behold, they are dead, and will never see the light again. But I say to you, O sinners, you have filled yourselves with flesh and drink. Having been robbed of your brethren, plunder, and all kinds of sin, you have not spent any money to acquire riches. Your days have been joyful and blessed. But have you not seen the end of the righteous? How peaceful and quiet it is. They knew no iniquity until the day of their death. They died, and are as though they had never been, and their souls have gone down to the abode of death. Now I swear to you, O righteous ones, by the greatness of his splendor, by his kingdom, and by his majesty, I swear to you that I have known this mystery, that it has been granted me to read the tablets of heaven, to see the writing of the saints, to discover what was written there concerning you. I have seen that happiness, joy, and glory are prepared for you, and await those who die in righteousness and holiness. Then you will receive the reward of your labors, and your portion of evils that you received on earth. Yes, the spirits of those who die in righteousness will live and rest forever. They will be exalted, and their memory will be eternal before the throne of the Almighty, and they will no longer have to fear any shame. Woe to you, sinners, if you die in your sins. And those who are like you will say of you, Blessed are the sinners. They have fulfilled their days and their existence, and now they die in happiness and plenty. They knew neither sorrows nor anguish during their life. They die full of honor, and they were not subjected to any judgment. But has it not been proven to them that their souls will be forced to descend into the realms of death, where evils and torments of every kind await them? Yes, their spirits will fall into darkness, into snares, into those flames that will never be quenched, and the sentence of their judgment will be eternal. Woe to you, for you will have no more peace, and it is in vain that you will seek to excuse yourselves before the righteous and the holy, saying, We too have known the days of affliction, we have endured many evils. Our spirits were consumed, reduced, diminished. We were lost, and no one helped us, and no one encouraged us, not even with a voice. But we were left overwhelmed by misfortune, and it was all over for us. We no longer hoped to enjoy life, and yet we thought that one day we would be in the first rank. And here we are at the very end. We have become a prey to sinners and the wicked. They have made their yoke heavy upon us. And those who abhorred us and oppressed us were powerful against us, and we bowed our heads before those who hated us, and they had no pity on us. We wanted to flee from them to enjoy peace, but we could not find a place that could serve as refuge from their persecution. We went to complain to the princes, and we raised our voice against those who devoured us. But our cries were in vain, and they would not listen to our voice. On the contrary, those who plunder us and devour us, those who weaken us and hide their oppression, who enervate us and massacre us and hide our murder and do not remember that they raised their hands against us, are protected. As for you, O righteous ones, I swear to you that in heaven the angels are calling your righteousness before the throne of the Almighty, and your names are written before the Most High. So be of good hope. For if you have been subjected to the evils and afflictions of this life, you will shine in heaven like stars, and the celestial barriers will be lowered before you. Your cries demand justice, and you will be avenged for all the evils you have suffered from the beginning, and for all those who have persecuted you, or who have been the ministers of your persecutors. Wait therefore, and do not be cast down, for you will enjoy a joy equal to the joy of the angels themselves, and on the day of judgment you will have no condemnation to fear. Therefore, do not be discouraged, O righteous ones, when you see sinners happy and flourishing in their ways. Do not become their accomplices, but keep yourselves far from their persecuting crowd. You are associated with the heavenly hosts. For you sinners who say, All our transgressions will be forgotten, but know that all your crimes are carefully written in the book of heaven. So again I say to you, that light and darkness, day and night, will be witnesses against you and your sins. Therefore do not commit impiety or lie any more. Do not distort the truth. Do not exalt yourselves any more against the word of the Holy and the Mighty One. Do not bow down to vain idols, for your sins and your impieties will be judged as very great crimes. Now listen to the mystery concerning you. Many sinners will corrupt and distort the word of truth. They will speak wicked words, commit lies, and compose books and store the thoughts of their vanity. But if they store my words there, they will not change them or alter them, but they will write accurately all that I have said about them from the beginning. I will reveal to you yet another mystery. Books of joy will be given to the righteous and the wise, and they will believe in these books which will contain the rules of wisdom. And they will rejoice, and all the righteous will be rewarded because they have learned to know all the ways of justice. At that time the Lord will command them to gather the children of the earth, so that they will listen to the words of his wisdom. He will say to them, "Show them this wisdom, for you are their leaders and teachers. Show them the reward that will fall to all who follow its precepts. For I and my Son will have eternal fellowship with them in the ways of justice. Peace to you, children of righteousness, joy and happiness." After some time, Methuselah, my son, gave a wife to his son Lamech. She became pregnant and gave birth to a child whose flesh was as white as snow and red as a rose, whose hair was white and long like wool, and whose eyes were beautiful. As soon as he opened them, he flooded the whole house with light, as with the brightness of the sun itself. And as soon as he was received from the hands of the midwife, he opened his mouth and recounted the wonders of the Lord. Then Lamech, his father, was amazed, and went to Methuselah and told him that he had a son who was unlike other children. "He is not a man," he said, "but an angel from heaven. Certainly, he is not one of our kind. His eyes are bright as the rays of the sun. His face is illuminated. He does not seem to be mine, but the work of an angel. I fear that this wonder is the omen of some event on earth. And now, O my father, I beg you to go to Enoch, my grandfather, and ask him for an explanation, for he makes his home with the angels." After hearing his son's words, Methuselah came to me at the ends of the earth, for he knew that I was there, and he called me. At his voice, I ran to him and said to him, "Here I am, my son. Why have you come to me?" And he answered me, "A great thing has brought me to you, a wonder difficult to understand, which I have come to ask you for an explanation. Listen now, O my father, and know that my son Lamech has just had a son who is not like him at all, and who does not seem to belong to the race of men. He is whiter than snow, redder than a rose. His hair is whiter than wool, and his eyes cast rays like the sun. When he opens them, he fills the house with light. And immediately after he came out of the hands of the midwife, he opened his mouth and blessed the Lord. His father Lamech, afraid of this wonder, ran to me, not believing that this child was his, but that he was born of an angel from heaven. And behold, I have come to you that you may reveal to me the truth of this mystery." Then I, Enoch, answered him, "The Lord is about to do a new work on the earth. I have seen it in a vision. I told you in the days of my father Jared, about those who, though born from heaven, had transgressed the word of the Lord. Behold, they commit iniquity, and they transgressed ordinances, and dwell with the wives of men, and beget with them an infamous seed. For this crime, a great disaster will come on the earth. A flood will inundate it and devastate it for a year. This child born to you will survive this great cataclysm alone with his 3 sons. When all mankind is destroyed, he alone will be saved. And his descendants will give birth to giants on the earth, not born of the spirit, but of the flesh. So the earth will be punished, and all corruption will be washed away. Therefore, teach your son Lamech that the son born to him is truly his son. Let him call his name Noah, because he will outlive you. He and his sons will not share in the corruption, and will keep themselves from the sins that will cover the face of the earth. Unfortunately, after the flood, iniquity will be even greater than before, for I know what will happen. The Lord himself has revealed all its mysteries to me, and I have been able to read in the tablets of heaven. I read there that generation will succeed generation until the holy race arises, until crime and iniquity disappear from the face of the earth, until all participate in righteousness. And now, O my son, go and announce to your son Lamech that the child born to him is truly his son, and that there is no fraud in his birth." And when Methuselah heard the words of his father Enoch, who had revealed all the mysteries to him, he returned full of confidence, and called the child Noah, because he was to be the consolation of the earth after the great catastrophe. This is another book that Enoch wrote for his son Methuselah, and for those who are to come after him, and like him to preserve the speech and the simplicity of their morals. You who suffer, wait patiently for the time when sinners have disappeared, and the power of the wicked has been annihilated. Wait until sin has vanished from the earth, for their names will be erased from the holy books, their race will be destroyed, and their spirits will be tormented. They will cry out, they will wail in an invisible desert, and will burn in a fire that will never be consumed. There also I saw something like a cloud, which my eyes could not penetrate. For from its lower part one could not discern its upper part. I also saw there the flame of a burning fire, like brilliant mountains, tossed by a whirlwind and driven to the right and to the left. And I asked one of the holy angels who were with me, and I said to him, "What is this splendor? It is not heaven that I see, but evidently the flame of a vast hearth. I hear cries of pain, cries of despair." And he answered me, "There, in this place which you see, are tormented the spirits of sinners and blasphemers, of those who have behaved wickedly, who have perverted what God had spoken by the mouth of his prophets. For a list of their names and their wicked works is kept in heaven, and the angels take note of them, and they know the punishments reserved for them. They also know what is reserved for those who have crucified their flesh, and who have been persecuted by wicked men. For those who loved their God, who did not put their affliction in gold and silver, who, far from delivering their bodies to the pleasures of this world, tormented their bodies with voluntary tortures. To those who, from the day they were born, have not coveted earthly riches, but have considered themselves as a wandering spirit on earth. This has been their conduct, and yet God has tested them well. But their spirits have always been found pure and innocent, and ready to bless the Lord. I have recorded in my books all the rewards they have earned, because they loved heavenly things more than themselves. This is what God says: when they were persecuted by the wicked, covered with reproaches and insults, they did not cease to praise me. Now I will lift up their spirits to the abode of light. I will transform those who were born in darkness, and who have not brought back to them the glory due to their faith. I will bring those who love my name into the abode of splendors. I will set them on thrones of glory. I will make them rejoice with everlasting joy, for the judgment of God is full of justice. He will give to these faithful ones a fortunate dwelling. As for those who were born in darkness, they will see themselves cast into darkness, while the righteous will enjoy immeasurable happiness. Sinners seeing them will cry out in despair, while the righteous will live in splendor and glory, and will never experience the truth of the promises of a God whom they loved. End of the vision of the prophet Enoch. May the blessing and grace of the Lord descend upon those who love him. So be it. Amen.